Hey guys, this is Sanitydzn, and today I'm going to be giving you a tutorial. Actually, it's not a tutorial, it's more of a commentary on the steps I take in judging an image and touching the image up with color corrections, etc. I will be talking like I'm talking to a beginner or an intermediate beginner, someone that has a little bit of experience with Photoshop but not much. So if you're pretty advanced with Photoshop, this might get boring to you. You might learn a thing or two, who knows. I apologize in advance for any noises of cars you hear. I live right beside a busy street, so that explains that. And yeah, so let's get started. Alright, so this is an image I found in one of my resource folders. I chose it because I thought it would be good for the tutorial, mainly because it's dull. There isn't much color to it, and it has a lot of potential. So yeah, the first thing I do before I start with correcting the colors and adding adjustments is I look at whatever I have and I say, what parts are too dark and what parts are too light. In this one, for example, I think it's a bit too light, and there's not much contrast between the light and dark. The way I fix that usually is by going to gradient map, go to the default black and white, press OK, and change the blending mode to overlay, and then I bring the opacity down to about 20, 28, 26, around there. Anything below 30, above 25. What that did is it darkened it a bit and added some contrast. You can also do this by going to curves and going to darker, and that makes it a bit darker. Or you could go to levels and make it darker. Or you could just add fill the layer up with black. Make a new layer, fill it up with black, and put it to soft light, lower the opacity, and you got that. What I did though is what I usually do is I just add the gradient map because it darkens what needs to be darkened and adds light to what needs to be light. So the thing I noticed about doing this also is it kind of washes out the colors that were there before. And the way to fix this is pretty simple, is to go to selective color. What selective color is you have these colors. These colors will not change no matter what image you do. These are what they're set to. And in each of these, we click on them, you'll have these options for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Set these real quick. 0, 0, 0. What they do is they add or take away whatever the color is that's on here. And what the black does, it'll take whatever you made with whatever adjustments you've made with these colors. So let's just kind of bake that. You have this pinky purpley color. What the black do is if you take the black away, it'll make it really pale and not really existent, or you can slide it up to make it darker than it was before. So yeah, that's selective color. I only use red and yellow for this one. That's what I'm only going to use, red and yellow for this one, because I only really want to, actually I want to change it real quick. I sort of want to give it more of a tan, and when I have like a small tan, I want to bump the colors up. So I have a couple settings written down here so I don't mess up. What I want to do is kind of get the red color in there right now. It might not be very apparent right now, but you can sort of build it up through adjusting these so slightly and going through each of them. What I did is I set cyan to -72, added or take away magenta. Yellow I put up to 57, and black I put up to 22. So as you can see now, we kind of have our base for making the tan. You see the color's kind of back to where it was previously, but now we can actually go in and sort of tweak it so that it looks more, it just looks more colorful. So I'm going to take away even more cyan now because I don't want any blue or cyan-y colors in this. Magenta I'll bump up because it'll give us that sort of reddish purpley hue that we need, and that'll go up to about, oh, this is good. Yellow will bring down because I want more of an orange color to it, and I'll bring yellow down to about 28. That's good. And then we'll bump the black up to that, and you can see now that we have that sort of natural tan look. You don't want to overdo the colors when you're using selective color. You want it to look natural. You don't want it to look like the colors were forced onto it. So that's selective color. Next, I'll add curves. What I do for curves is sort of add a nice finish to the image. So this is what a lot of people use. Curves kind of acts like levels and selective color in a bit. Basically, you have the options for red, green, and blue, and it works through the channels. Basically, on the right side of this little box, you have the lighter shades, and on the left side you have the darker shades. And this line, this diagonal line, is what we use to adjust the colors and whatever. So let's put that back to where it was. Actually, yeah. The way you change it is you click on different points and a little dot will appear. Basically what we're going to do is move this up a bit to the left and take this point and move it down. What we just did was add more contrast. You don't want to have too much or else the contrast just gets kind of gross and it's too dark, too bright, that kind of stuff. So you only want to move it a little bit. There we go. Next we go into red, and we're going to click 3 times. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this middle one, and we're going to move it up slightly. We're going to take the top one here, move it up a little bit more so it's on the very corner of the box here, and then we'll take this and we'll move it down very slightly. Next we'll go to green and we'll move it up. We'll click on the point here in between where the lines intersect, and you move it up a little bit. And then take blue and we'll move it up too in the corner to about there. There we go. So actually it's a bit too bright. There we go, that looks good. That looks great. Alright, so that's a basic color correction. What I do next is I'll usually finish it up with adding quality to it or sharpening bits. For this one, I look at it and I see that the top right corner and near the head is a little bit pixelated, and the pixels look kind of low quality. What I do is I'll make a new layer, go to image, apply image, and what that will do, it'll take everything from below it and save it onto one layer. If you want to, you can save your work by now if you have a big project or whatever. It's up to you. So what I do is I have this filter called Topaz, and basically what Topaz does, oopsies, that's Topaz Just. I want to use Topaz Clean. Topaz Clean will smooth the pixels out, and it'll take from one color to another, the transition will be smoother. So I have my settings set here. It's the strength 1, threshold 0.67, radius 8, accent 1, radius 1.50, sharpness 1.22. Press OK. So you can see the huge difference in the way the image looks. One issue with this is that some parts of the image will look a bit too flat and non-sharpened, and parts that you would like to look more sharp won't be, so it's easy to just either make a mask and go around and remove the parts you don't want, or you could just erase on the layer. I prefer to use a mask, preferably because it works with black and white, and if you brush in black, you brush around in black, oopsies, click on the mask, if you brush around in black, it will sort of erase on the mask, so you don't need to worry about losing parts of the image. And vice versa, if you brush in white, it'll kind of take away those changes and it'll keep the image the way it was originally. So we go again and click through that. So here, maybe here, here, and here, and here. There. So we have the image, the parts of the image that should look very smooth are smooth, the parts of the image that should be sharp are sharp. And yeah, so we'll apply an image one more time, add a new layer, and add some lighting to it. The way I do lighting is I'll take sort of a big brush in the corner, I'll make sure I have white selected, and I'll just I'll look at where light is shining on the focal, and right now the light seems to be shining on her, on the left side of her face, so I'll kind of go up to the corner here and click, and that should be good enough. If you think it's too bright, you can sort of lower the opacity or whatever looks good to you. I'll just keep it where it is, and yeah, so that's the way I kind of do my photos. I'm going to get into levels really quick, because I didn't feel like I got into levels as in depth, and I know some of you want to learn what levels are about. Basically, what levels are, it's kind of like curves in the way that it deals with the different shades of the different channels, and it's kind of like selective color in a way that you can adjust the colors by moving the sliders. So more into that, this box here is called a histogram, and on the right side you have the white point, and on the left side you have the black point. That's what these sliders are called. In the middle you have what's called the mid-tone slider. Basically you can move these around to adjust lightness and darkness. These black lines that you can see coming up here are basically calculations by the computer. What the computer will do to an image is it will scan it, look at each pixel individually, and on a brightness scale it'll go from 0 to 255. 255 being the brightest, or being the highlights, and 0 being the shadows. So yeah, what this mid-tone slider will do is, if it's moved to the right, it will stretch the shadows and the darker colors, and it will compress the whiter colors. And it's the same the other way around. So here you'll see the lighter colors being stretched and the darker colors being compressed into smaller little areas. And to change the colors around, you just simply go to the respective channels. The red channel, you can take the red away and make it more blue. You can make it more red here, or adjust the midpoint. Yeah, you can do the same with green or whatever. So yeah, that's levels. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you want more, just leave it in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, I hope you learned something great.